Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Lawrencia and this is Bantz with Lawrencia. How are you all doing? I hope you're doing great. For today's episode, we're going to be talking about Ngozi Fulani. No, it's not Ngozi Fulani. No, that's not the pronunciation. It is Ngozi Fulani. Now, if you don't know Ngozi Fulani, I have never heard of her before until a couple of days ago. Now, Ngozi Fulani was invited to the palace for a charity event. She has been doing work on domestic violence specific to African and Caribbean heritage, black people basically. She was invited to the palace to talk about her charity and to create awareness. Now, according to Ngozi Fulani, she was approached by Lady Susan Hensey, a top palace personnel. According to her, she said that Lady Susan approached her and this conversation ensued. Now, let me just read out the conversation according to Ngozi Fulani. So she said that Lady Susan approached her and said, "Where are you from?" And she said that she's from Sister Space. And Susan Hensey said, "Where do you come from?" She proceeded to say that we are based in Hackney. And Lady Susan said, "No, what part of Africa are you from?" And she said that, "I don't know. They didn't leave any records." Now, Lady Susan said, "Well, you must know where you're from. I spent some time in France. Where are you from?" And she said, "Here, UK." And Lady Susan proceeded to say that, "No, but what nationality are you?" She said, "I am born here and I am British." Lady Susan said, "No, but where do you really come from? Where do your people come from?" And she replied, "My people, lady, what is this?" And Lady Susan says, "Oh, I can see we are going to have a challenge getting you to say where you're from. When did you first come here?" Ngozi Fulani said, "Lady, I am British. I am a British national. My parents came here in the 50s when," she was trying to explain, and she was cut short by Lady Susan, who said, "Oh, I knew we'd get there in the end. You are Caribbean." And Ngozi said, "No, lady, I am of African heritage, Caribbean descendant, and British national." And Lady Susan was like, "Oh, so you are from," so that was the end of the conversation that she mentioned. According to her, this was what made her very uncomfortable. Now, when I first, heard about this, or when I first listened to some of the interviews and comments, it was funny to me because I was like, "Ngozi, you know what this woman is asking you?" Now, before I even go into that, Ngozi Fulani dressed, I think she just Googled primitive Africa and she embodied that. Even me myself, if I see Ngozi Fulani, I would want to know where she's from. Though the name is giving her away, because as a Nigerian, I am Igbo, and I know that the name Ngozi is Igbo, and Fulani is actually a tribe of people, not just Nigeria, but they are scattered all over Africa because of the nature of their business. What they do is they rear cattle and they move from, they are gypsies basically, they move from one place to the other. Although some of them have settled in Nigeria, I mean, our president is Fulani, so that is not a question. But me as a Nigerian, I know that Ngozi is a Nigerian name, but the way she dressed, I mean, come on. She dressed, I would be curious. I would want to know, where are you from? Especially if you're not a Nigerian. But just imagine me as a Nigerian, I would be curious to talk to her, to know where she's from. So according to her, even before the conversation started, Lady Hensi actually pulled off her hair to see her name tag. She said that was a violation of her space. She said that was abuse, physical abuse, that nobody should touch her, especially knowing the culture that she's from. Nobody should put her hands on her and all that. And people had this conversation, like there were so many, it became a racial conversation because Lady Hensi resigned after the palace actually, even Prince Williams, like they just threw her to the wolves. Like, this is an 80 something years old woman from a different era. Although we can feel that, okay, we're educated on race and everything, but these are people that are not on the internet. I mean, she's 87, 80 something years old. She may not even be aware of all these things. She grew up in a different era where slavery was acceptable. So although that is not even an excuse, like what I just think is, there is no way you can talk about it. It's a double-edged sword. You cannot defend Lady Hensi because of her age, and you cannot totally agree with Ngozi Fulani because, you wore a costume basically. So that has to attract some kind of curiosity if you're going to be dressed like that. Now, this is not talking about, okay, who is wrong or who is right, but there are so many conversations going on online because there are two aspects of this conversation. Some people supporting Ngozi Fulani, saying that, racism, there's systemic racism in the UK, especially racism from the palace. I mean, if you talking about King Charles, when he became a king, I think during the mother's burial, some people were lined up trying to, shake his hands. There was an African man that was there who tried to shake him, and he just walked past this man, ignored him, and moved on to the next white person. Like, there is racism. There's no reason under the sun why King Charles should have skipped that black man and then move on to the next white person. That is racism. Like, nobody's even arguing about the fact that there is racism in the UK, in the palace, like the monarchy. These are the people that colonized the Commonwealth countries. I don't think the argument is about whether there is racism or not. I think it is the context and it is the intent, because, and we cannot take away the fact that Ngozi Fulani felt that the intention of Lady Susan Hensi towards her was racial. Like, she's trying to discriminate her because she's trying to say, okay, the way you're dressed, you must come from Africa, you must come from, Caribbean. Even if you're born here, your parents, what is your heritage? Somebody can look at that and be like, okay, that is curiosity. But if that question is asked 7 times, trying to get you to say that you are Nigerian, you're Fulani, you're from Caribbean, to get to your roots, then I think that there is the intention there is what might make somebody feel uncomfortable. And the number of times that question was asked would have made somebody feel uncomfortable. Now, thinking about it, when I first saw this, I laughed because to me, I was like, that is a very simple question. Just answer. You're dressed, you embody Wakanda. You embody African culture and even more than the Africans. So if somebody is asking you about your heritage, that should have been an easy question to answer. But then again, I had to kind of, stop myself on that track. I was thinking, okay, because I'm a first generation immigrant, I've lived over 2 decades in Nigeria before moving to the UK. Yes, I am British, but if you ask me where are you from, I will tell you I'm a Nigerian. Because even if I'm telling you I'm British, the way I talk, I am not doing any. There's no any in my voice. So you are going to know that I am not originally British. But then when it gets dicey is, let's say I didn't have a child here and I'm telling this child you're Nigerian. I even give them Chioma, this is my child's name is Chioma, and they know, like I have told them that they are Nigerian, but they are born here, they go to school here, everything they know is British culture. Even if I've taken them back to Nigeria to spend 1 or 2 weeks during their lifetime, or maybe even yearly, I don't think that will negate the fact that they are British. So even if you ask that child, where are you from? They are likely to tell you that they are British, regardless of if their name is Ifoma Chijuki. They are going to tell you they are British. Then if you start asking them, where are your parents from? They can tell you, yes, my parents, they are Nigerian. You see? So I think there is that element there where, for me, I thought about it and I was comfortable to say, Ngozi Fulani, you should have just said you're Nigerian. But then again, when I listened to Ngozi Fulani, when she was talking, she talked about, she being, I think she's Caribbean, to be honest with you, because, yeah, she's Caribbean. But even the Caribbeans, they are Africans that were sold as slaves to these places, and maybe she decided, and her name is not even Ngozi Fulani. Let's just make that very clear. Her name is not Ngozi Fulani. I don't even want to mention her name, but the reality is they are still Africans. Even though she's Caribbean, she can wake up one day, trace her roots like Meghan Markle, who said she's 40-something% Nigerian, and we accepted it. Like, we're happy to accept anybody who is happy to identify as us, as Nigerian. We are happy with that. But I think one of the problems that I see here is the fact that people are not taking into account the way she looked. I understand that everybody has a right to dress the way they want to dress. Everybody has the right to change their names to whatever they want to change their name to. But at the same time, if you're going to be a walking billboard to a particular culture, I think it is only fair for you to understand when somebody is asking you about, because it was not about the charity. For her to even touch her hair, you know that it's about the appearance. It's about the way you look. There is this lawyer, he's actually a son in Nigeria, who dressed like a native doctor, to court. And he said that's his right. That is his, religion. Everybody has rights of religion, because it was kind of accepted for people to wear this, is it burqa or turban? Nijab, sorry. Nijab to schools and to offices and to everywhere. Like, it was now accepted. I think it was passed as a law or something like that. So he felt it is also his religious right as a traditionalist to dress as a traditionalist to court. And that was why he was tying red wrappers around his waist. He had wide chalk eyes. People were curious. We're talking about in Nigeria. People were approaching him. He did a whole lot of interviews talking about why he's dressing that way and why he's identifying as a traditionalist. Now, this is in Nigeria, the most populous black nation on earth, the heartbeat of Africa. And even in that country, because he dressed different to a courtroom where people, it's supposed to be a formal dressing, people were curious. He did so many interviews talking about this. Just imagine if he's dressing like that and he was asked, why do you dress like this? And he'd be like, yeah, it is my right. Don't be racist, or you're racially abusing me, or something like that. I just think it's kind of it's a double-edged sword. Like, there is no way you can win. I don't think I see any reason why if that question is then put to you in a social context, should we take that as racism? But then again, I understand that sometimes these people don't know, because your parents are from Caribbean and you traced your roots and they're telling you you're 56% Nigerian, and then you just Google and be like, okay, Nigerian name Ngozi, okay, keep that aside. What tribe? Because I have dreadlock, what tribe should I identify as? And you're like, Fulani. And then you're like, okay, this is it. How does African people dress? And then you just mash all those things together, embody it, and that is your identity. But identity is not just about the way you look. If you're going to appropriate a particular culture that is like glaring, I mean, I am very sure that everybody was if I was in that room, I would be looking at Ngozi Fulani, and I am a Nigerian. I was born in the north. I know more about the Fulani culture than I do about even my own culture, because that was my birthplace and I grew up there, and that was my reality. So if you're going to embody a particular culture, it is only fair, where you're from. And I have never been offended when somebody asks me, where are you from? Or where are you originating? Because I would tell you I am Nigerian, because I know who I am. I know where I'm from. I know my culture. I know, it is me. It is ingrained in me. But I also understand that, let's say I have a child tomorrow. Yes, I'm telling that child you're Nigerian, but what does that child know? It is the British culture. And if that child goes out and they ask them, where are you from? And they said, I am British. Where are you from? I am from London. Where are your parents from? If that child is not comfortable answering that question, that is fair. I mean, just keep it moving and stop asking people several times, even touching their hair. I mean, it's you see, there was a video of Kelly's. She was I think it was in Vietnam or something, where people were just like intrigued about her hair. Like, they have not seen that. She just did box braid, and they were just intrigued to touch the hair. Like, they were just touching her hair without even permission, because that was the first time they were seeing something like that. So is it curiosity? Is it because you're seeing something for the first time? Or is it just racism? Is it? At the end of the day, it is the intention of why Lady Susan was asking persistently, actually 7 times, trying to get to know where Ngozi Fulani is from. At the same time, what is the intention of Ngozi Fulani being offended by those questions? I mean, we don't know if it was actually asked 7 times, unless she had the tape recorder. But we're not even going to blame anybody. It is what it is. I am just happy that we're having this conversation. We're not just thinking about we as first generation immigrants being happy to provide this information. What about your children? Are they happy to proudly say they are Nigerian? Even though some of them have never been to Nigeria before. Their name is Femi, Ngozi, and Hamza. But are they happy to say that they are Nigerian? That is where the question comes in. That is it. So thank you very much for watching today's episode. Please like, and share. And thank you very much. Bye-bye.